What's up, everybody? This is Jose from Southern Life. Welcome to Fairmont, West Virginia. This town has a lot of stuff like this, abandoned buildings. We're going to drive through the city and explore neighborhoods like this and understand why West Virginia has the highest overdose death rate in the entire country and quite possibly in the entire world. I don't know. I've been trying to find homeless. Like this person, are they homeless? Yeah, they got a suitcase. They're on the streets for sure. Like there's a parking lot right behind this building here. All right, everybody. So I tried to get this interview with this young girl. Didn't work out. I tried to get the interview, right? I told her, look, I'll give you double what I usually pay people. Okay? She said she wants more. She's like, well, I think my story's worth more than that. I said, okay, how much do you think your story's worth? I'll pay you what your story's worth. She's like, well, I don't know. I said, look, she's like, enough to buy a house. I was like, I ain't got that kind of money. Okay? Now, she wanted an amount of money which is into the hundreds for the interview, which I told her, okay, fine. How much money do you want for the interview? I can't buy you a house. I don't have a house, you know? There's people over here that they might be all homeless. There'll be more homeless people in this town. We're gonna try to get some interviews. So I'm like, look, this town is just, you can tell it's got a lot of addiction.
Yeah.
So these people here are gonna be homeless probably on the streets. And normally I don't pay that much money, but I listened to her. Okay, how much do you want? She said, well, I think my story's worth more than that. I'm like, honey, I don't want your whole story then. I can give you $100, I told her. And for $100, you tell me whatever the crap you want. I told her, if I give you $100 for this interview, the interview would have to get like, I don't know, how much to make $100 on YouTube these days? How many views do you have to get, Katie?
Like 40,000?
At least, and that's for the high view duration.
Yeah.
You want hundreds of dollars for this interview. Okay? I asked her, if you're addicted, okay, and I give you $100 right now, that's enough to overdose you. I don't want to hurt you, you know? So I told her, can we go to the store and I'll buy you $100 worth of things or $200 worth of things, whatever you want. So this person right here is on the street. Let me try to talk to him real quick. All right, guys, so there's somebody just vagrantly in front of this gas station. And I asked him, I said, hey, my man, I got a little come up for you. Tell your story. He's like, nah, man, I'm embarrassed. I don't want people to see me in public. I'm like, dude, you're already in public. You're in front of a gas station. So I think the problem here is that the homeless people here, maybe there's a social stigma about it, but there's homelessness everywhere. It's like, and you're on the streets homeless. What type of pride is left? I don't get it. You're already out here.
They just don't want people outside the town to know.
Or their family members to see it or something.
Yeah, that might be it.
I can smell the fent on him. He's fented. I can smell it on him. He reeks of fent. You can smell it. Anyways, I usually don't have trouble in Florida getting interviews. Like in Florida, I tell people, hey man, this is what I'm doing. You want to share your story? And they're okay with it, you know? But it seems like there's a social stigma. But what's crazy about it is I do think they need to talk about it because West Virginia has the highest overdose death rate in America. 80 per 100,000. You think it's bad where we live in Florida? The overdose death rate here is 2 times higher than Florida. More than 2 times higher for the entire state of West Virginia.
And I've always noticed with the younger crowd that the younger crowd is a little more hesitant. But if you find like an older person, they're more willing to talk.
No, I think nobody's going to talk around here. But the problem is, if the overdose death rate out here is 80 per 100,000, it's the highest in the nation, I think it's pretty straightforward you have a problem. We are in West Virginia trying to talk to the people here and understand what is going on with the overdoses in this state, the addiction. It's bad here in West Virginia. But I've had a really hard time finding people to talk about the problem. West Virginia has towns like this. We're like on the edge of this town here. And this is an abandoned building. It says Skid Row. I don't know if there's people. Hello. It's an abandoned building. And addiction is just out of control in West Virginia. They have the highest overdose rate of anywhere. This here says Skid Row, so we know what Skid Row means. But here we are in West Virginia, and I've been in this town trying to talk to people. about the problem, and I just can't get anywhere. Obviously, this is an abandoned building here. Let's see if we can find needles, so we can find anything that would suggest the problem. You can see this is an abandoned building here. It's been graffitied out and vandalized. I didn't see any no trespassing signs, so I think we're good on that. It's just clearly an abandoned building. Now, the town we're in right now, you can just see homelessness everywhere. There's a Skid Row sign there. But what's crazy is that I've been trying to talk to people here and understand exactly what is happening here in West Virginia, and they don't want to talk about it. You know, West Virginia, you know, when I talk to people and ask them, why don't you want to talk about it on camera? They talk about their pride, and they talk about what people might think about them. I said, look, you're on the streets. You're homeless. You're on the streets. You're addicted. But you're worried about what other people think about you. You need to be worried about yourself. But this is an entire building up here on this mountain. You know, as you drive by, it looks like it's all wooded, but if you look carefully, there's actually buildings behind all this stuff. That's just over time, nature has started to take back some of this stuff. There's literally nothing left in this area. These were neighborhoods, these were buildings, these were communities. And sadly, most of these towns here in West Virginia have lost a considerable percentage of their population to where today these towns are practically ghost towns at this point. And, well, entire neighborhoods have been swallowed up by nature. You know, we have analytics. We know that West Virginia has the highest overdose death rate in America, so it's not a secret what's going on here. If the people here think it's a secret, or if you're homeless on the streets and addicted, it's not really a secret. Everybody knows you're out here, so I really don't understand why it matters to acknowledge it. Whether you acknowledge it or not on the internet, it's still happening, and you're still living in these conditions. And unfortunately, this is West Virginia today. This is the place in the world, not just the United States, but in the world. Nowhere else in the world has a higher addiction rate than West Virginia. This is the world's epidemic headquarters. This building is just footsteps from the side of the road here. And if you can see here, there's tents that I'm walking over and abandoned buildings. And, you know, these buildings have been abandoned for so long that it's practically almost dangerous to even venture near these buildings. It looks like they could collapse and hurt you at any minute. You can see this building is literally, well, it's on the road practically. It's just on the side of the road. Literally, here's the road, here's the building. Down there is the town. And, you know, down there in the center of the town, everything kind of looks normal. But despite the beauty of this area, you know, hidden among these beautiful mountains, this beautiful foliage, is an abandoned paradox, you could call it. I don't know what to call it. That's the flag of Spain right there. They just leave their garbage outside. It's so filthy. But even the vibe in this town, like we've been in a few other towns and the vibe is kind of better. But the vibe here is kind of heavy and pessimistic. It doesn't feel too welcoming. You get looks from people when you're driving through. You're still in the United States of America. How much does a house cost in this town, Katie? $40,000, $50,000 to get you a house here? You can get a house in this town for $100,000. A quarter of the price where I live. This is the richest country in the world. If you can't make it in the United States of America, you're not trying. There are people right here in this community that have nice houses, nice cars, living a decent life. If they can do it, you can do it too. You see this house right here? This house right here would cost you 4 to 5 times more money anywhere else in America. You're from here. This is your state. This is your city. If you can't make it here, you can't make it anywhere. But it's every YouTuber that comes to West Virginia runs with the same sad sob story, okay? The same sad timeline, okay? Oh, rural Appalachia, the coal mine shut down, the businesses left, and now we're hungry. And I hurt my back at the coal mine, so now I gotta take pain pills, and now I'm addicted. Every YouTuber that comes out here tells you the same narrative, and I'm gonna tell you that that narrative is a complete sack of garbage. And I'm not talking from an uneducated perspective. I lived in Elmore County, Alabama. It's part of Appalachia, if you didn't know that. The Appalachian Mountains go all the way into Elmore County, Alabama. I lived at the start of Appalachia. I believe that the people were friendly. That was a lie. That's the narrative every YouTuber ran with. Well, the friendly people in the South. Every YouTuber said that. That was a lie, okay? A very big lie. And the other lie was you're going to starve to death. When I moved to Alabama, I really thought that making money would be difficult. And at first, I was terrified. I was terrified. I thought we were going to starve to death in Alabama because everybody there was starving to death. But then I realized the reason they're starving to death is not that there aren't opportunities. It's that the people there don't have any ambition. You remember that song from Tupac, Ambitions as a Writer? Well, these people don't have any ambitions. Jobs don't pay a lot here, but housing is affordable. And you know what? Don't go work for somebody. Work for yourself. All you got to do is go work for yourself. That's what I did in Alabama. I went to Alabama, like, oh, jobs pay $10 an hour. Well, okay, I went and got a business license, and my phone wouldn't stop ringing in Alabama. People paid very well in Alabama. You know, that's the other thing. You know, people here do pay well for work. So, you know, it's not that there aren't jobs, there aren't opportunities. It's that people in these areas, they don't really understand that, like where we live in Florida, a house costs $400,000.
You can rent an apartment here for a 1-bedroom, $646. 700 for other ones.
$600.
And then a house for like $900.
Come on now. You know, when you become an addict, you have children you don't take care of. Those kids end up in foster care. You know, you become an unproductive member of society. You become a burden to society. So a lot of people feel, well, it's my life, I can live like this. Not exactly true. And the same thing, if you have talents and abilities, like a lot of these people here are talented. A lot of them are unique, and they could be YouTube creators. There's a lot of ways to make money now. You don't need, if you got a phone in your hands, you got $1 million ticket in your hand. I don't know if you guys know that. If anything, you don't need a building, you don't need a house, you don't need an inheritance. All you need today is if you have a phone in your hands, you have $1 million check right now in your hand, you can become a YouTube creator. You can download FL Studio and make instrumentals for people. Well, guys, there are homeless people in this town. They just don't want to be on camera. I've tried and I quit. It isn't that hard in Florida to get people on camera, but I guess people here that are homeless are afraid of the stigma. Condemned. Yep, it's condemned. And see, well, the issue is that West Virginia towns are littered with properties like this. Properties that are abandoned. In the case of this one here, it burned down to the ground and it's been condemned. Now, this house actually has a pretty decent view if you look. This is the view from this house right now. But unfortunately, it's abandoned and it's in really sad shape. And everywhere you look, you see spray paint cans. And I think that's because people are using the spray paint as an inhalant. And despite the natural beauty of West Virginia, this is what many of their towns look like. But, you know, take a look at this neighborhood. The house is abandoned and condemned. You know, the city utility pole is down. Now, this is West Virginia. So, you know, in the case of this neighborhood, you know, not only do you have the obvious, an abandoned house, but it looks like somebody hit this post, maybe. A car hit the post and snapped it in half. And, you know, in my time here, one of the things that I've noticed about West Virginia is that just about every other, you know, the amount of cars that you see here that are crashed, it's just how many cars, you know, you see cars that are crashed from the front, from the back, from the sides. These are individuals who are just driving around like nut jobs. They're completely crazy. They're driving around causing havoc and destruction. This would have one day been a beautiful home, well-built home, but today it's sitting here abandoned in ruins. If you just look at the sidewalk in here, it's just littered with cans. And you know, guys, the saddest thing is that predominantly the most noticeable thing about this town is the beauty of the town that used to be here. This was a beautiful place. Because there is actually a river here and a very beautiful bridge as well. But of course, what good is a view and a beautiful Victorian home like this if the town that you're living in is completely abandoned? You can see the sidewalks are in disrepair, and I almost tripped right there. And again, beer cans on the sidewalk. And the sign actually says this property is not for sale. But there's a sign right there. This property is not for sale. And it is in a registered historic place. But whoever owns this building clearly has no intention to sell it. The sidewalks are overgrown. And that's so cool. Beer cans on the floor. Political posters all over the town. You can walk to the town center from this house. That's like the other. You can walk there. So take a quick look at the condition of this property. Take a look at this sidewalk here. The sidewalk is pretty much overgrown at this point. You can see that beautiful bridge I was telling you guys about. Look at the view from behind this property. Places with a lot of potential are just sitting here and decaying. They got a helmet while driving. What are you doing down there? What are you doing down there? I tell you what. Oh, he's got a helmet on while driving. What type
They
of...
drive so bad
They
here
need
that-
a helmet while driving. He's going to hurt somebody down there. I tell you
Look at
what.
that boarded up house up there on that hill. Ooh, that one's burnt up too. How much population loss has this town had?
1950, the population was 29,000.
What's it now? What's it now?
18,000 to the last 10,000 people in the last 50 years.
So, about a third of their population is gone. Drug-free area.